on all these calls and run our tech?
Yeah, I say I have facilitated enough virtual meetings over the time. Just for everybody, what I wrote to Brendan was to put a slide in that informs all of your participants that this call will be recorded. And that's your reminder to start recording your call.
Mark, let's make that happen. All right. Thanks, Jennifer. We appreciate the coaching for today. Because
we need all the coaching we can get. We're getting better. You should have seen us 2 years ago. It would have been really bad.
Hey, at least I figured out how to get my camera to work today.
It's all good.
All right. So we're going to grab a piece of paper, and here's what I want you to do. This piece of paper, I would like for you, and you can even pull up your LinkedIn profile and have it for quick reference if you have kept it up to date. But what you want to do is look at your career experience and background. So look at every job that you've had, look at every company you've worked with, and then think about how you evolved it within that company. Like we've got one gentleman that we're working with right now who started with a company when they were at 12 million in revenue, and he grew them up to 2 billion in revenue over a 30-year career and multiple acquisitions. Now, he viewed that as one career stop, but actually it was about 18 over his entire tenure within the company when he did this exercise. So what I want you to do is just create a timeline of how you have evolved within a role within your companies, and then even as you've transitioned from one company to the next. And as you're looking at your career path through each of these opportunities, I want you to recognize what it was that made you different in each of those roles. So you know how it is when you start in a role and you get going, and then somebody comes to you and says, you're not like everybody else that's been here before. And when they tell you that, I want you to think about what was it in reference to? Is it how you lead people, how you communicate, how you recruit and organize teams? Potentially it's through systems that you implement, or structure or processes or training that you incorporate. It could be something that you have created that is your secret sauce to getting everybody organized and on track. So my bookkeeper that's in here, as far as my bookkeeping solution, Deep, I know that there's probably a lot here for you in terms of the processes that support getting that accounting function moving so that you're not doing the basic level administrivia. You can focus on doing the strategic work that drives the highest value within the company. And it's probably the most fun. Or if there's any tools or things that you have utilized effectively. And this is where a lot of us start to recognize that our superpower. So Mark and I have a very dear friend and great client of ours that is, I mean, absolutely incredible with CRMs and sales enablement systems. And it's like she opens them up and she can make it sit up and bark like a dog practically. And that is her superpower. But each and every one of you, when you do this exercise, you are going to identify something in what you do that you want to really start to pull that thread. Mark?
The important part of this exercise is to decide what you want and love to do. I mean, we can be really good at something that, you know, is we'd rather have our teeth pulled out doing, okay? Please be, you know, selfish when we're in this part of this exercise. I mean, for me, if you ask me to, you know, balance a checkbook or you know, do accounting work, you might as well ask me to just walk off a short, you know, take a long walk off a short bridge.
Short pier.
So it's really important to put that on top of what Brendan's talking about here.
And that brings up another, so as you're making this list, okay, I want you to have kind of like the chronology of events, and then I want you to make a Venn diagram where you've got circle here, and circle here. And then in it, within those three circles, you've got what you did, the task that you did. And then I want you to think about the impact that you created within the role. And then the third, to Mark's point, is where did you experience the most personal and professional impact? As in the stuff that you did, you would have done it for free. You had so much fun when you did the work. Okay, any questions on this? This is a good spot for us to kind of do a little bit of diving in. Are we good? Okay, because this exercise, I want you to give yourself, we're not going to do it now, but I want you to give yourself 1 hour. Okay, so you're going to set a timer when you do this, because I will tell you this can pull you into a rabbit hole. I want you to spend 1 hour getting the information organized. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to go back into those roles. Think about your coworkers, your supervisors, and your direct colleagues that worked with you, and potentially even your customers, if you were interacting directly with a customer. And I want you to think about the common people in each one of those roles, and then that's going to become your networking list, because those are all incredible people to help you with refining your value proposition, getting clarity on this, getting feedback, because trust me, I get it that you're probably not the best at bragging about where you've been, what you've done, what you accomplished. That's really hard to do. So I want you to capture that information from others.
And this is really important, no matter whether you're starting from, you've never done this, or you've been working for a couple of years, or whatever it is, it's never too late to refocus on what you love to do. I've had to have multiple pivots, the new word, over the years to really get focused on helping people with transition plan. So it's never too late, because as we often say, it takes a lot of work to build your fractional business. You might as well build one you want to get up and do in the morning. Okay. So
absolutely what he said. All right, let's move to the next slide. Marcus, are you ready? I think this one's yours. Now, before I turn it over to him, I'm going to pull Marcus, make sure you get ready for this. What I want to talk to you about, first of all, is just a little bit of how the service is delivered in terms of structure. And then I'd love for Marcus to share what he's experiencing that the companies are most eager and receptive to buy. Now, the trends in fractional has been around forever and a day. It was just called a lot of different things. So the marketing space has had it for a very long time, where it was called freelance or gig work. You may have been familiar with doing contract work, or having an interim engagement or temporary role, staff augmentation, consulting services, even coaching. It's all fractional by another name. So what I want you to think about is you can be super flexible in your structure. Mark, you want to add?
I want to say that Marcus disappeared.
Where did Marcus go?
That was a nice lead up to Marcus being involved.
Where is Marcus at?
I know you did a great job, Brenda.
Oh my goodness.
Funny,
All
right?
right.
Something
Well,
I do want to talk briefly about the difference between consulting and fractional. Just half a second.
go for it.
Consulting is an interim are not a problem, but they're by definition a short-term engagement. It could be a 12-month engagement, 18-month engagement, but it has an end. From my perspective, fractional is where you build a relationship with the management team, and you become part of their leadership team, and you are there for as long as they want, forever almost. Okay, so just keep that in mind. In positioning, you're always positioning yourself to be a fractional leader, not just a fractional solution. So anyway, that's just, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it crossed my mind, and we had to figure out what you had to have some time to figure out what to do now that Marcus isn't here. So it's back to
And
you.
Marcus lost power. Marcus experienced the exact same thing that happened to me during your presentation with the San Diego chapter last week. So, okay, so then with this, let's open this up. Let's talk about what people are hiring you to do. And Mark Blackton, I'm losing him, so I can't pick on him now. So those of you that currently have fractional clients, what is your structure of relationship with them? Where are you finding success? Who wants to go first? Let's hear about what's working. Chime in on the chat. Yeah, and I see we've got a question, Jeffrey. I'm going to make sure that we get to that. Anybody else? Who's finding fractional? Because I can share with you the trends that I'm seeing, but I think it's awesome to hear from people that are currently in the group. So Mark Blackton is doing something pretty cool where he is leading with a process that is landing him right squarely in the middle of family-owned businesses that are planning for that generational transfer, where it is mom and dad are turning things over to the kids or to family members to run. So let's hear about that. And then Nikki, I'm going to come to you after that.
That'd be great. Basically, over the years, I figured out that I enjoy working with business owners to help them understand the options they have to change. I was a broker for 5 years, and I'd sell somebody's business for twice what it was worth, and they'd come to the signing table shaking because they had no clue as to what the next steps were, whether they had enough money, whether this was the best thing for their family and their employees. And so I developed a passion for helping these people. But to get to what Brendan's talking about is I also can do business valuations. So my good offer is to come in and build relationship while I charge them $5,000 to $10,000 to do a thorough business valuation of their business. By the time I'm done with that, I know a lot about them. I know whether I want to work with them. Put that as a number one key, because I don't like working with people that are a pain in the butt, right? So it's just there, and they know whether they like me and whether we can work together. And we've talked about strategic planning and business options and transition options, and whether it's right to go to the kids or whether it's right to go to
it's better to go to an outside buyer
or whatever it is. But we've been having these planned conversations from my perspective about what their future is while I'm doing their business valuation. And I transition 40% turn into a long-term client easily, and I get paid in the meantime. All right, I'm sorry.
And the other thing that Mark has with this is he's able to maximize the lifetime value of the client because he's doing the work to prepare them for sale, supporting them or for that transition. And then if they're going to go to an outside buyer, he can lead that search and then participate in success fees there. So there's a number of different things that, I mean, when you think about constructing your service, there's just a lot that you can do. So I don't want you to just think about whatever your job description was and whatever you think somebody would pay you $5,000 to $10,000 a month to do. I want you to really think about creating a service offering of you. Okay, Nikki, would you share a little bit about what you're experiencing? Because I think yours is good. Yours can provide some really good insight for folks on the call.
Yeah, sure. So I really have a blend. So I've got one client, right now I'm working with 3 clients, and that keeps me pretty busy. One of the clients is a true fractional. So I'm part of their leadership team. I'm managing their marketing agency as well as their in-house marketing team, helping set strategy. I'm on monthly retainer. I've been with them for 6 months. Then I've got 2 others that are project. But like you, Mark, it started as project. I think they're both going to turn into longer term deals. So one of them I helped with a website redesign. We finished the redesign and he said, okay, the CEO contacted me and said, okay, let's get on a call and discuss what are what are our next steps as it relates to marketing. And so that will turn into a monthly retainer. And then another client I have right now made an acquisition of another brand, but they haven't brought the 2 brands together. And so we're rebranding, figuring out, what to do with 2 separate websites, 2 separate social media sets of profiles. And I think once that comes to a conclusion, again, I'll be put on retainer to help execute. Because as I go through the branding exercise, I'll also make recommendations for their marketing, but they'll need somebody to implement those. And so then they don't have an in-house team. I'll subcontract out the work and manage the execution of it.
I totally agree. No one walks into a business with the credibility and relationship to be a fractional leader on day one. You're gonna,
And if you do, you probably don't want them as a client.
yeah, you're good, better. We teach good, better, or best, right? Good being your intro offer, better being helping them with a couple things, and then best being a long-term leader within their organization. And what Nikki just explained and what I just explained is it gets you in the door, but it's not free consulting. Number one, you're getting paid to do what you do well, and there's a big value on what they pay you for. So, Brendan, I'm going to hand it off. I think that's a good handoff to you.
Absolutely. And then actually, I'm going to step in. So, Sean, explain your message.
Yeah, so what I've ended up kind of stumbling into a little bit is kind of this big opportunity in this greenfield. So I imagine most of us are aware that there's a massive CPA shortage in the country, and the trends were there before the pandemic, and they got a whole lot worse over the last 3-4 years. And so what I've ended up doing is really helping to bridge that gap in a lot of ways. That I have plenty of peers who are totally done with the old full-time job, meaning 60+ hours a week, and feeling burnt out and grumpy and unhappy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're done with full-time employment like that, but they're really happy to have 20, 30 hours a week and know that it is structured and they're not going to have that terrible pain that they used to have. And I'm also finding the same with folks who are otherwise just not wanting to be in the full-time job market. I just picked up somebody on the team who very talented CPA auditor. She had a couple of kids. She's homeschooling them in rural Texas. And her previous employer said, yeah, we're done with you because we only want people that we can work like dogs, apparently. I think they might have said it nicer than that, but that was the message. And so we got together and she's doing great work. The clients love it. She has the number of hours that are right for her. She does a lot of her work from like 4 to 8 a.m. while her boys are still asleep. And it's working out great. And so we're filling a gap in the market. We're helping nonprofits get the talent that they can't find. And that it feels great. In addition to it, it's a lot easier when you're in kind of a green field than when you're in a position trying to build a business where there's already a lot of competition. I haven't run across anybody doing anything quite like this.
Awesome. Which, the thing is even if you do find people that the space is a bit crowded, it's really kind of fun to get in there and carve around the edges and see, okay, so if this is being done, where is it not quite fitting? Because I'll tell you, the biggest mistake that Mark and I see people make when they're starting a fractional business is, okay, you remember I told you you have 1 hour that you actually get to look at a sheet of paper and then you're done and you have to go and talk to people? Well, the problem is there's a lot of people that have spent hours and weeks and months and sometimes even years building this incredible service of you that nobody wants to buy. And you really need to be clear about, okay, this is what you can do and what you can deliver and what you want to do, but now what do people want to buy? And then you start having the conversation, and you're going to discover, much like Sean did, that there is a vastly underserved market right now because of all this talent that's exiting corporate America. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people that are just fed up with being treated like a second-class citizen, you know, where slavery's been abolished years ago. We can have a life now. It's wonderful. So let's do it. Mark, what do you want to add? I know he's sitting here biting his tongue.
Hey, multiple things. One, it doesn't matter if you're doing exactly the same thing as your friends do. There's so much demand for this. I mean, McDonald's and Burger King are on the same corners for a reason, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't even get hung up on that. So many people come to me and say, don't you do the same thing as Mark does? And I went, no, I just have friends that do the same thing. It does. He supports me. If I have a question, we help each other. We're not competing in a lot of ways. Don't worry about it. Get out there and do what you love to do. Because if you have a passion for it and you love it, you're going to be successful. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely. Okay, so keep us moving on the slide because we've got more to talk about. And I just looked up at the time and it's like, holy cow. Because I want to make sure that I get us out of here on time. Now, potential clients for fractional. So I wanted to share with you just what we have witnessed. And I know that, okay, so I had somebody that actually asked a question about this as far as what size of company revenue should a fractional focus on as far as determining what your target audience is. And I'm going to tell you that the advice that Mark and I give in our program is I want you to view this part of your journey as an experiment. And so what you're going to do, it's not going to be you're going to pass or fail with any one thing. I want you to pick 2 or 3 different type of prospects that you're going to pursue. That's part of the reason why I told you when you're making that list, put up that list of the people that you worked with, your former colleagues. So Kathy, that the common client, then dear friend of Mark and mine that focuses on fractional, she does the CRM implementation. Most of her business that she has originally done, she does Lean, Six Sigma, process improvement, Scrum, all things project management. She keeps busy with just keeping up with her former work colleagues that say, hey, we got our workload's too heavy right now. I'm in a new role. And I was just thinking about you because I really wish I had you at my right hand in order to get this done. And there is a lot of opportunity that's just sitting there in your resume that you just need to start pulling threads. And that's how you view this exercise, is it's identifying within your previous history, you've got this vast network of people that you connected with. It was either your colleagues, your supervisor, the owner of the company you worked for. It could have been your direct reports. We have clients that do all of their prospecting with 25 people that they've worked with over the past 15 years of their career. And they just consistently open the door.
That is also another excuse people give. I don't have a big enough network. It's not true. I get most of my work from 5 or 6 people. You know, I have 1,000 people in my network, but who brings me money? Brings me money. It's not that many people. Guys, and especially when you first get started, identify those that are first, spend the time for yourself remember selfish, what I want to do, what industry do I like, and then go talk to 3 or 4 or 5 people in that industry to see if you're right. And it's not about selling it to them. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Go talk to them. Find out what the industry really is willing to pay for today.
And I will, before we wrap up, I have a networking secrets guide that I'm happy to send to anybody. So let me know if you want to shoot me a chat with your email address. I'll send you the link that you can snag it. And it basically walks you through how to organize your contact list and get started with your networking and what the conversations need to be. It talks you through how to create your 30-second commercial. So it's all in there, and I'm happy to share that with you. Now, I will tell you, and this list is based on a number of my clients and what they've experienced. So this is not me just making it up or snagging trending headlines. It's based on what I'm hearing people like Nikki are finding success in. I know that a lot of people think that the primary clients and consumers of fractional services are those small businesses, but you might be surprised because we've got a common contact here in Kansas City that left corporate America as a CFO for $100 million company, and he had a pretty decent network in the private equity space. And most importantly, he understood the challenges that happen with a post-merger integration. So he knew how complicated it was to pull the operating systems, the bookkeeping, the accounting systems, the CRM, the client data, the historical records, all that stuff. His superpower was in understanding that. So his target audience that he started with was private equity groups. And in doing so, he ended up getting really, and the other thing that he started at this with is he knew he didn't want to do all the work. So he got just enough revenue to replace his corporate job salary. And then he immediately switched his focus, much like Nikki is, to finding subcontractors and other fractionals that he could push work out to. And today he is a little over 2 million in revenue. He's got 8 people that he's keeping as busy as they want to be, and he's continuing to expand his stable of talent for fractional. But his niche is private equity. So, and he attracts talent that have expertise in that M&A space. So when you're thinking about what you do, I want you to think about consumers of the solution in quantity. Mark, what would you add?
I believe in a target-rich environment. More than 85% of the businesses in this country are under 20 million in revenue. Okay, that's just me. When people say I want to do 50 to 100 million, I think, well, damn, they should have their full-time employees, right? So I want you to think about how many people in that space of under 50 million are out there that really, really are willing to pay for your expertise in those bigger companies. Just laying that out there.
Exactly. And if you look at different solutions, the other thing I'm going to encourage you to do is look outside of the traditional fractional role that surrounds you and look at how other people are structuring their solution and who they serve. An example that I talk about all the time is what we see happening with the Entrepreneur Operating System, or EOS. Now, how many of you have clients who are deep in EOS right now? It's Traction, Gino Wickman, Mark, bite your tongue. Okay, if you are not familiar with that concept, you need to go buy that book. And it's Gino, Gino Wickman, Wickman. So Mark is not a fan because it assumes that all businesses are all screwed up on every aspect of their business. So I mean, he does a very good job of coming in with a sledgehammer to wreck everything and then construct the systems back the way that he wants it to be
It's a
built back
very,
up.
very popular program. It's selling across the country. It's
Like
it's-
mad.
I-
So
I said years ago, I'd stop laughing at people that were making millions of dollars. So I'm doing my best, Brendan. I really am.
okay. Well, what I really like about it is he is a marketing genius, and I have so much respect for what he has created, because he has basically created a business model to deliver fractional COO services. And there is, I think it's an integrator role that works on creating the strategic plan. And then you sell a day that you go in-house with a client, and you get paid anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 a day. So, I mean, the money's good. And then you support them in between those quarterlies with advice and guidance. And, that's the thing, is so many of your fractional opportunities are going to begin by looking like something else. So you're going to come in to help them get something done. So your job getting started is to go do research and find problems that you can solve. I know, Mark, I got to keep moving. Okay, Mark's moving me. All right. And then that gets us into the value proposition. So you need to, as you're looking at your career experience, you're going to identify that there are common things that you did within each role. So, for example, my husband spent 23 years in manufacturing. And let me tell you, he is an Excel wizard. So the first thing that he did in every one of his roles, and he's been in a production role, but I mean, the first thing that he did was he gets organized in an Excel spreadsheet. And then he organizes everything from, he did traffic, and he did scheduling, and he did the maintenance on the equipment, and everything began with a spreadsheet. So that example is one that I want you to think about in every role, every position, every promotion that you had. What is your habit? What's the first thing that you did when you would get in there and start looking up and looking around? How did you get things organized?
It's good. And value is not what we do. And that's all I have to say, because it's what people got from what we do. And I will kick any of you under the table if we ever meet and you say, if somebody asks what you do and you say, I'm a fractional CFO. That doesn't mean a lot to anybody. What I do is help people transition their businesses. I'm a fractional CFO, but that's what I do. Think about the difference when you talk about value. That's my pitch there.
So there is, okay, so Clay brought a really good, he shared a really great message that said, I would gladly do fractional work in capacity of forecasting, pricing analysis, pricing to win, go-to-market strategy for 10 hours a week if I were able to find a client with that sweet spot. Okay, so that looks like an incredible service offering right there, Clay. And what you want to think about is within each one of your roles, what were you able to achieve for your employer? And that goes back to articulating the value proposition that Mark just shared, where it's what they received or experienced through you that is your value proposition. So it is gains that they've had in production. It's reducing costs by X%. It's implementing a new product. We've got a client that his area of expertise is in the pharmaceutical industry. He understands the regulatory, the compliance issues. He understands keeping boards up to date. So, I mean, that's his value proposition. And around that, that's where you're going to find it.
Bill, what did you have to say? You raise your hand.
You're muted.
Unmute.
I was going to say, Mark, I ran into the problem of trying to sell fractional CFO roles. and I'm in a small niche, smaller business in the education sector.
Right.
People wouldn't go to a fractional CFO, so we changed it to financial management.
Whatever.
And therefore it's worked. And I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but Brendan, you asked me to talk about other projects that worked.
Yes, I'd love for you to share that because I want to hear from you before we run out of time.
So I've just started, I realized in talking to another vendor that I had the transition, like you just spoke about transitions of acquisitions. That was one of my niches. I used to buy businesses, but I knew what took place. So I'm now looking at both sides of merger companies, and that's been a niche that I'm now exploring. My business partner and I have started what we call a 360 review, where we go into businesses with these value proposition, and we're going to evaluate their business, their policies and procedures, because we're industry experts. We know what it is. And then we give them just a written report of recommendations, and the written recommendations are leading to future engagements in whatever we find as we go through that evaluation. So I
Excellent.
recently did one. In fact, I'm writing a statement of work right now. He has a financial staff, but he doesn't have a monthly process. And I'm just going to engage with him on a 10 to 15 hour a week or month basis just to provide that niche. And with small owners, I would recommend everybody. The danger is these small owners don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And that is really the opportunity that we have given our experience.
Absolutely. The other thing that I'm going to suggest that you do is rather than thinking about it, so if you're thinking about it from an hourly basis, think about the time commitment on your side, but everything that you communicate should be impact based. So rather than talking about for $200 an hour, you can have access to, instead make it for $5,000 a month. I can hold your hand and guide you to get to. And then you're talking about where they want to get to on the other side of transformation.
I tried that, but what ends up happening is I was losing on hours because they would monopolize the hours, and then you couldn't work with the other clients. So I've put in a minimum, or I give them a certain base at a fixed price, to your point, but then if they go beyond a certain number of hours, I'm charging them on an hourly rate. So thank you for pointing that out, because I learned that lesson the hard way.
I've done the same thing, and I've put in a $5,000 minimum to be my client. And if we go over, it's $250 an hour.
So let me make a recommendation, if I can, that may help a little bit with just reframing how you do this. So when you create your scope of work, you want there to also be the defined timeline that you work within in order to achieve that. And I like you to do like 90-day sprints. That's how Mark's got his set up. And the 90-day sprints are great because it allows you to adjust the scope as needed. So when you get to the point where you're exceeding that scope, as far as the time allocation that you've got, because I promise you, you will always uncover something. You're going to pull out a can of worms every single client you get into. You're going to discover the things they don't know. You're going to discover workarounds, band-aids, all kinds of issues that you got to clean up the mess. But what you do then is have the conversation and ask the client how they want you to address this, because this is outside or beyond the scope. Do they want you to adjust and give them a new budget? Or do they want you to push that to a parking lot that you will come back to when there's available time based on what they've got? So that's the thing that I want you thinking about this as, is it is an ongoing conversation. You do not do work for free. You want to make sure that you are working within that scope. Okay. All right. And we're done. Okay. Thank you.
I want to talk about this and then thank everyone. All of this wisdom is shared between Brendan and I in a class we wrote called Freeway to Fractional. And if you want to know more about it, I've put 2 links here in the slides.
Oops.
And
And
one is, yes,
let me also, I'm sharing in the direct message. Sorry, Deep, I didn't send that just to you. The system automatically said, hey, you're sending Deep a direct message. Instead, I'm going to send it to everybody.
okay. But we love to talk about this stuff. We're going to be here every month. As you saw the emails, we have other, networking events. Brent, we do a stop by my office that's not a FENG based. Stop by my office on the 2nd Tuesday of the month. Brendan concentrates mainly, as you can tell, on marketing.
It's on marketing.
Marketing.
That's
We can't get her
Yeah.
done. I mean, she loves it. That's her life. It's her passion. We love her for it. So feel free to join us for those. But if you sign up for any of the, check out the Freeway to Fractional, the 5 days to fractional
boot camp experience.
It's 5 days. Probably take you 8 days to do. Truthfully, it's online. It's $38. If you're thinking about fraction at all, you should go through this class just to figure out if it's even the starting point. And then if it is, then talk to us about the Freeway to Fractional course itself, which is 4 modules, 22 and growing lessons, maybe 23, because Brendan keeps sneaking him in on me. But we go through the College of Hard Knocks issues of how to avoid the things that we've done wrong and we've seen our colleagues do wrong over the years. And it's a totally different approach than almost anybody you'll ever talk to, because we're weird people. But we are very, but we're very, very, we've been very successful. We've had nobody complain about this class and the value they bring from it. And we'd love to talk to you more about that. If you want to set up a meeting with me, I'm available to talk about these things, and you can find me on the FENG registry or whatever. So, Brendan, you get to say the last word.
The last word?
The last one word.
I only get one word? Oh my goodness.
You've got to respect people's time. You've done a great job. Thank you for doing it. Thank you.
I understand. Well, this has been a lot of fun talking to everybody today, and we want to continue this conversation because Mark and we really are passionate about the opportunities that are available in fractional services. And we feel this is where the market is evolving to. And quite frankly, it's where all of you need to be. You need to be in the driver's seat of your career. You need to be working for your goals, your dreams, your purpose. And we would love to support you on your journey to do that. And I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions, but I want to respect everybody's time. Give you the opportunity to take off. We are happy to share also the slide deck and the link of the partial recording for the conversation that we had today, which actually covered most of the conversation today.
You're right.
So awesome. All right. Does anybody have any questions now that we're sticking around? Because I'm happy to answer anything.
Thank you very much for the call. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer. It was really good meeting you.
Absolutely.
I actually do have a question. One of the things that I'm